a playlist original.
All right, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster. My name is Gaius Bowling, and I'm here with the three of us again. 2 weeks
Let's
in a row.
go.
Hello.
Regular episode.
Yeah. I kind of want to get into what we watched over the weekend, but we can start with the games that we watched yesterday.
I watched a lot of football yesterday.
One member of the team was not happy. The other member was cheering against her for some reason.
For absolutely no reason but to torment me.
No
No, my
reason at
Chiefs
all.
lost yesterday. I'm really bummed. I'm from Missouri, so it was a hard loss. I know everyone hates the Chiefs because of Mahomes, but it's fine. I've gotten over it today.
I don't think anyone hates the Chiefs because of Mahomes specifically.
Uh,
They're fun to root against.
I don't know. I was seeing some crazy stuff online today.
Really?
So
Or I know there's something like his wife apparently says a lot of stuff online about haters.
yeah. Well, last
Yeah.
weekend when that last Sunday when they won, she sprayed champagne on everyone when it was like 10 degrees out.
No.
So she got a lot of hate for that.
Well, she's spraying it from
What?
a box into the lower levels. That's like, all right.
Wait, weren't they all cheering though? Like, weren't they like happy about it?
Yeah, but it was kind of like, look how bougie my life is. She didn't spray it on anyone in the
No,
box.
I agree completely. I
Yeah.
think that was like not the move, but
Yeah.
like,
I think we're kind of reaching
but that's
with that, right?
unfortunate that the girlfriend has to like decide if people like a quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks of our generation.
Yeah. They people are just looking for something at this point.
It's
I think so, too.
fine.
I was just so confused because I didn't understand why Owen was just so like rooting against her. Like every time they did something good, he was like, "Let's fucking go!" And then Brittany was just looking at him like, "What the fuck? Like, are you serious?" And I
Because
didn't know he
Owen's
was.
girlfriend is from Ohio, so now all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
But she's a-
he's an
But she's
Ohio
a Brown.
She's a
But she's a
Browns,
Browns
fan.
fan,
So
though.
fan. Yeah, make it make sense.
I don't have an explanation for you other than go Bengals.
And we all kind of forgot, at least I forgot where Brittany's from. And I kept looking at her shirt and I was like, "Oh yeah, you're rooting for them." And she was like, "What?" I was like, "I'm sorry." I totally forgot.
I'm a Missouri gal.
You can no longer
Oh.
root for the Rams because they're no longer in St. Louis.
No, I'm not rooting for the Rams because of Stan Kroenke, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not. Well, we don't have to get into that.
Yeah. That's
Well,
a different episode.
Anti-Stan Kroenke.
That's our football episode.
I'll be our football episode. Well, the Bengals and the Rams are
Yeah,
going to the
we'll
Super Bowl.
we'll do a whole football episode about that.
Yeah.
I was
If
happy
you're from
to,
Missouri, you get it.
Sure. I was happy to go home right after the game was over because I had a lot to do today, even though it was really hard. Like everyone, we go to this place called Tower 12, to anyone listening, and everyone was celebrating the Rams win like intensely. Like all these people that were like, "I'm going to leave as soon as the game's over." Suddenly they were ripping shots. Like Stevie, our friend Stevie and I had to like basically sneak out so we didn't get caught up in the madness. But it looks like everyone was having fun, and it should be a fun Super Bowl to watch. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that
Yeah.
there's just been a lot of really close games. And if you're a football fan, even if your team lost, I'm sorry, but like the games have been good. And that's all you can ask for as a fan is just to have close games, and someone's got to come out on top. So I'm glad that we had some close ones.
Yeah.
sure. So did you guys check out anything else over the weekend?
I have been not good about this. I did not this past weekend. I did not watch anything substantial, I guess. I caught up on and just like that.
Still hate watching it.
And still hate watching it. I wasn't going to, but then I heard that it got better. But then there was a full frontal scene. It wasn't his actual penis, but it was a penis.
Oh, it was like a prosthetic.
I mean, I don't think it was his real. It was Charlotte's husband, Harry. Like she was
I know
she
the
went down. She was gonna like give him a blowjob, and then her daughter walked in, and she like it was like a second where she turned around and you can see like just like his dick just right there.
Yeah. Well, that's what
So
Brittany
that
watched this
made
weekend.
things a little spicy.
Yeah, that's definitely a switcheroo.
What about you, Owen?
I've actually been rewatching Westworld. So
It's a good show.
it's just like it was one of those things where I kind of have a hard time really diving into new shows. I love to start watching new shows, but I automatically compare it to shows that I've really very much enjoyed. And I mean, obviously I continue to try new things and watch new things, but every time I get stuck in a rut, sometimes I go back to something that I've really liked before. In Westworld, I mean, those seasons took a long time to make. So I think when I was watching those seasons, it was current. And I think between season 1 and season 2 was something like a year and a half, or when I was like years and years and years ago. So to kind of rewatch it steadily and to see the transition from season 1 to season 2, and then just a completely different kind of season 3 with Aaron Paul. It's really cool to go back and watch it. And now that I know what happens, I can kind of point and pinpoint some things that I missed before. It's an incredibly complicated story that doesn't really make sense because it's so futuristic and kind of.
I've only seen the first season. So
Yeah.
I need to go back and rewatch the first season and then dive into 2 and 3.
Yeah, the seasons 1 is so good. And I realized why I hadn't watched it again is because the setup of the whole world takes a full season. So like to kind of immerse yourself into Westworld, you have to really understand what's going on. And so that takes a full season to explain. And that's when I realized, as I was watching it again, I was like, okay, this is a lot of backstory and a lot of exposition, but it's all necessary in order for 2 and 3 to happen. And those are just action packed and craziness and a bunch of ideas and thought processes that you're like, that doesn't make sense, but it's entertaining. But it is fun to watch. And I think the action's really good. Some great actors and actresses in there. Like we talked about Evan Rachel Wood last week, and she's just so good in it. So it's fun to rewatch it. I think this is actually only my second time going through it. So it's like, it's fun to rewatch it again. And there's a lot of stuff that I think that I missed that I am finding out again.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like I thought season 1, because I do like that show a lot. I thought it was like deliberately slow in like the best way. Like even though like it kind of like for some people would move along kind of slow, I just everything about it is just so interesting though. Like it just, I mean, the way it's shot, the way they do everything on it, it's just like visually really good. And then also the storylines are really good. And like you said, the acting is like pretty top notch as well too. Which
it's funny because when you try and explain the show to someone who's never seen it before, it sounds pretty dumb. I mean, you basically say, all right, so there's this theme park and there's robots, but they're like so lifelike you can't tell, but they also are starting to gain consciousness and they don't understand why. And like there's a lot of different slips and twists and turns, and everyone's like, that just doesn't sound interesting to me. Like, what, they kill these robots and then they bring them back to life? Like, what is that? Like, it's kind of hard to explain until you really show them, and then they kind of like, oh, okay, I kind of get it now. But it's just one of those shows that when I first started watching, I could not wait for season 2. And it sucks that Anthony Hopkins was only in season 1 because he's unbelievable in that, and really just is the master manipulator that kind of is pulling strings behind everything, which is really cool. And I know it's been out for a while now, so I guess there's spoilers or whatever, but if you guys haven't checked it out, anyone listening right now, it's definitely worth the watch.
For sure.
If you have 45-50 hours worth of time to watch it.
Just spread it out.
Yeah.
I watch stuff that I don't really think I can like talk about yet. Well, I don't know how this works with Jackass, because like the embargo is not up yet until Wednesday, but our episode will drop Thursday. So if they're hearing this for the first time Thursday, that should be fine, right?
Well, no spoilers though, because we do still want to. See
all right. I will
spoilers.
just, here's what I'll say about it. I saw it because I had to interview the whole cast, and I guess we're saying cast because they're all real people. I got to interview all the guys, and they were all really cool and really fun. Probably one of the most fun series of interviews I got to do for the website, because there really was no like, let's be proper and polite kind of interview with them. It was just like they were very off the cuff, and I've never talked about penis and balls more in an interview in my life. But
we can if you want to.
We already started with Sex in the City. We already started.
We did. There's a theme. But yeah, you guys will enjoy it. I'm pretty sure you guys will, especially if you like the other movies and the show. So
I was just listening to Johnny Knoxville was on Smartless this week.
Nice.
So I just started listening to it. I went for a walk earlier and was like, I listened to half of it, and
Right.
just got me really excited to see it.
I always loved Johnny Knoxville. I loved his sort of the way that he was a leader, but continued to participate, where it's not just like, oh, I'm only going to do the ones that are kind of safe or like stuff like that. He still put himself through the ringer, but was
He
kind of
wants
like,
to.
I felt like was it his original idea, or what kind of led him?
Yeah,
to
it was
be,
him and Jeff something.
Jeff Tremaine is the director.
Jeff Tremaine, the director.
Yeah. And Spike Jonze was like attached to it.
Nice.
Yeah, I think
and
it's
so he
it's
kind of
interesting
created
too.
the Jackass show.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I
so I
think
guess
that's
that is
interesting
why
too.
he's more of a leader than the others.
Because he really broke out and became like an actor too. So he could have easily been like, oh, like I don't want to like put myself in these like more like absurd pranks and stuff, so I don't want to like get hurt too much. But he never really wavered from that. He still kind of had like this like Hollywood career, along with like, I'm not going to stop doing this thing that.
Well, he moved here to
famous.
become an actor. Like he wanted to be like a serious actor, and then he kind of fell into this Jackass thing because he needed the money and it was making money at the time. And I just think that's so interesting that sometimes it's like you fall into these situations that you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll go down this path and see where it goes. And it's made his entire career.
That's one of those typecasts that you really can't break away from.
Yeah.
That's almost an impossible one to try and be like, hey guys, I'm serious now. It's like, well, I just saw you snort wasabi. So I'm pretty sure that I don't take you seriously.
Yeah.
Right.
I will say this about it, because this is already out there. They have talked, a lot of the original guys have talked about like, this is probably the last one they're going to do, especially Johnny Knoxville. He's like, I've put myself, they all have put themselves into the ringer, like doing this for all the years they've been doing it. But they did introduce new people that, when you see it, it seems like they've been there the whole time. They don't really seem like they're like new additions. So I guess if they want to carry it on with them, they can, and they can still get, paid because they're like producers of the whole concept and everything. So if they choose to carry it on with them,
isn't it like Dick House Productions or something?
Yeah. So they can carry it on with them if they want. I think they're those guys, once you see it, are more than willing to do really stupid stuff, especially since they are younger and they're like, my body isn't as hurt yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys will enjoy it. I think it's coming out this Friday actually, and I think it's going to make a lot of money. It's tracking in like the low like 20 million to open, but I think it's going to kind of break that, because young people are
especially that weekend before the weekend, like in the middle between, like the Super Bowl is in 2 weeks, so it's like we kind of have a lull with sports for a bit, so I think people are going to go out and see it.
It's between that and Valentine's Day, so it's like you're not going to go see that necessarily on Valentine's Day. So.
I mean, I would go see it with someone on Valentine's
There
Day.
you go. That's how you choose. That's how you choose who you want to be with. Is will you go see Jackass with me?
How to Win a Date with Brittany on this podcast.
Yeah.
I will say this though, they did ask me to pull a quote from my review, so they want to use in the TV spots, and they said that they would use it. They would let me know once the TV spots air. So I found that out earlier today.
That's so
awesome.
Cool. Like something that you said, or like your voice?
Yeah, just something I wrote in the reviews. You know how like when they have like TV trailers and they were saying, like,
from like
critics said this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, my first one is going to be for Jackass Forever. So.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Hey, that's a start, man. It's a start.
Yeah.
And then I also saw Uncharted, and I know I can't talk about that yet because
I don't want any spoilers about that.
Yeah, it's under embargo still, and they haven't even given the date when it's going to be lifted. I thought it was interesting that they did the press stuff so early, because it doesn't come out to the 18th, but I think it has a lot to do with how busy the actors' schedules and stuff are. Because I did the junket today with Tom Holland and the other two girls that are in the movie, Tati Gabrielle and Sophia Ali Taylor, and they're in different parts of the country, and there was a lot of moving parts to even like get the press junket to work. But they managed to make it work. I get Mark Wahlberg on Wednesday, so I hope I get him early, because I heard he can be kind of chilly if it's late in the day, if it's later in the day and he's been doing it all day.
I can totally understand that. If you've sat through 7 hours of interviews and someone asks you the same question, you're like,
the same questions.
Here's the answer. Here's the answer.
I know, but he gets paid so much money. I don't really care.
That is true.
I would do it. for that much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Holland complimented my movie wall, which I thought was cool. So he did that today. So
Nice.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
I'm a step closer to being his friend.
Which one did he compliment? Which one did he compliment?
He saw the Halloween ones in the back, and he
Nice.
thought that was really and he
That's
was really cool.
awesome.
Like he was a really good interview, and like I got all my questions in. He managed to like answer them all thoroughly in 4 minutes, and didn't seem rushed. So
Cool.
he's clearly at 25 a pro at managing a press.
He's done
junket.
his rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess we can kind of get into a little bit of what's going on. There's not a lot in the news, but since we are a movie podcast and the Oscars will be coming up eventually, there's a few awards that they give out that are kind of like precursors to the Oscars a little bit. They kind of sometimes predict where the Oscars are going to go as far as nominations. So the Producers Guild of America, the Writers Guild of America, and the Directors Guild of America announced their nominations. And I'm just going to start with the DGAs, so I think that's the most interesting of the trio. So the DGA Awards, they nominated Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. They nominated Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. Denis Villeneuve, I always probably get his name wrong, for Dune. Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, and Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. This list, I'm okay with some of these choices. There's someone that shouldn't be there. That's just my opinion. There's one person.
I think we all can agree on that.
There's like one, because like it's not like the movie got good. Like I'm referring to Steven Spielberg for West Side Story, and like
I am too.
The movie got good reviews. I'm not saying that it didn't, but they kind of got away with this by also having nominations for best first time directors. Like I would have liked to see Lin-Manuel Miranda in there for Tick Tick Boom instead of giving him a nomination for being a first time director. Like if we're comparing like movie musicals like West Side Story and Tick Tick Boom, I thought Tick Tick Boom did a far better job of executing its story and was a little bit more innovative than West Side Story.
I thought Lin-Manuel directed In the Heights. He
did. He directed both.
So
No. He wrote. Sorry, another guy directed In the Heights. He's the guy that directed Crazy Rich Asians. This is kind of how the director nominees have been kind of going a little bit. Like Paul Thomas Anderson has been in there for Licorice Pizza, and Dune has been in the conversation too, and so does Jane Campion as well for Power of the Dog. I just think that the Spielberg one is just because he's Spielberg, and not necessarily.
It's literally just because he's Spielberg, and that's what pisses me off the most. Is like it literally shows that a movie can do not well at all. Like I haven't seen West Side Story. I can't really judge based on the movie, but I know it didn't do well in theaters, which meant that people didn't like it. And why should he be nominated for Best Director when there were movies that came out this year that people flocked to the theaters to see?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me just because it's Steven Spielberg. It's so frustrating.
I kind of agree with the same thing with Denis Villeneuve. Like, I thought Dune was a great movie, but it just doesn't seem like that's the kind of movie that gets Best Director at the Oscars.
Well, it's interesting because like it's visually like stunning, right? So like I give it credit for
cinematography. I'm in, but directing.
And I also think it's again, like I said, I've never read the book, and I know a lot of people have said in the past, like even when they made the one in the 80s, that like that book they felt was like pretty unfilmable. They thought like no one could really do it justice, and it seemed like people thought that he did, at least. I kind of knew he would be in there just because he was an early favorite, and they also don't want to upset like these award stuff that lead up to Oscars don't want to upset like certain people that like certain genres, and like the sci-fi genre is one of them because they always feel like they get left out. Like they're like I think we talked about this, or I talked about it with someone. There's been like these for your consideration ads for like Spider-Man, and I love Spider-Man, but there's no way that's getting any type of like movie nomination unless it's like for effects and stuff like that. It's not getting a Best Picture nomination no matter how much I loved it. Like the Academy is still not that cool. Like they occasionally try to get cool. Like they're like, oh, we'll give Black Panther Best Picture nomination, but like it's not gonna like for certain genres, it's hard. But I think if Dune wasn't represented in some way, that they would get like they also want people to watch these things. And if you nominate a bunch of movies and people that did certain movies that no one has seen, it kind of makes it hard for them to like justify like when they're like, oh, I wonder why people didn't watch this year. They're like, because no one knows what half of those movies are.
Yeah,
basically.
I think it's hard in general.
I'm just looking at the list right now, and I just want to ask you guys how you feel about this. Just one of the categories is outstanding director achievement in a dramatic series, and it's all directors for the same show. It's for Succession. Like there's 3, 4, 5 directors nominated, and it's all for Succession.
This happens a lot too. A lot of people think that's not fair, but like the flip side of that is like some people would say like, well, Succession's putting out the best hour or whatever of television out there right now. But I always think it's weird when like it's like that in the acting categories too. Sometimes like that show, a lot of those actors get nominated, all of them get nominated, and they take up most of the spots. It's not entirely fair, I think, like because but I get it because every episode is by a different director or a different writer or like something like that. So it's not so much like you're rewarding the show, you're rewarding the people who worked on that particular episode. But it is a little suspect when they take up like 4 of the 5 slots.
Well, it's like was there nothing else on TV in the past year? It seems like there was a lot on TV.
Yeah. I mean,
like I'm watching Succession right now and I'm really enjoying it, but like I've watched a lot of things this year that were really good on TV.
Yeah.
I don't know, it seems odd.
Yeah, I mean, I guess also too, what's interesting about that is that even though it's the same, like even though they're all different directors, they kind of have to do some similar things in order to keep continuity with the show. So I mean, I actually haven't seen Succession. I definitely want to start.
I think you would like it.
I think
you would like it.
I know I would like it. But like they obviously can't be doing something completely different from the previous director that like considerably stands out. So how do you nominate 6 of them if they're all kind of doing the same thing, you know?
Yeah, right. That's true. I agree. So with the PGA, the Producers Guild, this kind of determines a lot of times what the Best Picture nominees might be at the Oscars. They're usually pretty similar. And so they nominated Being the Ricardos, Dune, The Power of the Dog, West Side Story, Tick, Tick, Boom, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Don't Look Up, Coda, and Belfast. Now, the Academy doesn't necessarily have to pick like that many. They can pick 5 if they want, but they can also pick up to like, I think 8 or 10 if they choose to. This list actually looks like the way it's been going pretty much the last couple of months. Now, there are some people that don't think Don't Look Up should be there. It has a lot of critics who just didn't like it. But it's most likely going to end up getting nominated for Best Picture.
Did they not like it because they didn't get it?
It could be that. I mean, like some people thought that Adam McKay's message was too heavy-handed, is what I've heard from. If you read most of their reviews, I didn't like it.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
I think that is the point, and I think that some people that don't necessarily agree with that approach were very triggered by it. Because some of the reviews weren't even like, they didn't really feel like critical reviews. It was just like, oh, this made you feel a certain type of way,
and I didn't like the way it felt.
But yeah, this.
I think Coda was probably one of the best movies I've seen this year too.
For Power of the Dog, I turned it off halfway in. I got bored.
I haven't watched it yet.
I was probably like, I think I probably watched about 45 minutes of it, and it was an excruciating 45. I just felt.
What is it on? What platform?
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Okay.
I love. I like Benedict Cumberbatch, and then the other actor he plays alongside. But trying to listen to Benedict Cumberbatch do an old 1800s American cowboy accent is just hard to watch, man. Hard to listen to, and like. I understand kind of the message and the story that they're going through, but it just seems like I don't know what the point of making this movie was. Like I don't really see like why this story needed to be told. And like I didn't feel anything. Like I said, I didn't even finish it. I didn't really feel any type of way. I didn't feel any connection. It just felt like, oh, it's a grimy, like hard time, and this person's doing one thing, one guy doesn't like it, and that's kind of it. And I really like don't know why it's being considered up at the top.
Yeah, I can see that. I've heard some people kind of, I forget the guy's name. He's on Twitter, but he felt a certain way about the movie too, and it's very similar to your reactions to it. And he was just surprised that everyone like kind of loves it so much. He just didn't really see the hype. I haven't watched it yet. I do need to watch it before we get to the Oscars, because I think it is gonna. I think it's definitely getting nominated.
I could see it for like cinematography.
Yeah.
But if it gets anything for screenplay, then I'm gonna be surprised, because I don't think that.
So I think let me look at that list too. It did get a wait, no, it didn't actually. It did not get a Writers Guild nomination, because there's certain rules that like eliminated it from getting a Writers Guild nomination. Same thing with Belfast. So it is a possibility that it can end up getting an Oscar nomination for writing. It's still in that conversation. But the only key difference between the screenplay and PGA nominations for the Writers Guild was that they nominated Nightmare Alley as well, and the French Dispatch, which I actually just watched. It was pretty good, but you have to like Wes Anderson.
I was going to say,
you have to really like
Wes Anderson's always in the picture for.
Yeah, he's a good writer, but he's also an acquired taste. So like you have to really like his stuff. The interesting thing about Coda and what that kind of means for like Apple, because they purchased it in a huge deal like at last year's like Sundance or whatever, and usually that your movie can get kind of forgotten when it kind of hits that early, but Coda has been in the conversation the entire time, and Apple continue to make moves, maybe not with their TV streaming, but with like the movies they're picking up. They're very significant like films they're picking up. Like they spent like $15 million at this Sundance picking up a movie called Cha Cha Real Smooth with Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson.
Yeah, and
Coda.
What was it?
Well, I just want to touch on Coda before we pass over it. Coda is a movie that is doing something for society. It's like a big movie that's going to change the way we view movies in the future. It's more than just watching a movie. You're watching it in another language. You're watching people use sign language. There's like no dialogue in the movie, so you're reading subtitles and watching them communicate in their language, which is sign language, which is an incredible opportunity for anyone who's not familiar with children of deaf adults. That's what CODA stands for, to see this movie, and the accessibility of us watching a movie that was just made with sign language is like an incredible thing. Like it hasn't been done before. The entire movie is like in sign language.
Yeah, so. I actually like didn't know anything about it. It sounds like it's a breakthrough.
I mean, I was sobbing at the end of the movie. I was like full on like tears.
Yeah, I didn't hear about it until Apple spent all that money picking it up. I was like, that was like a huge deal for a movie like that. And I know the Cha Cha Real Smooth one was $15 million, and I think Coda was like they paid $25 to $35 million for it just because they had that much faith in it. And that's the kind of deals that Apple's making for these movies, which kind of makes them like, it's crazy because everyone talks about how Netflix is kind of a player now, and when it comes to awards and all that stuff, but like quietly, like something like Apple has been like sneaking in there too, which is kind of cool. Like, because everyone made such a big deal about these streaming services being allowed to basically participate. And now it's like, we've talked about this all the time, that like the movies made for these services or that get picked up by these services are just as good as anything that you would see theatrically. The same.
The only people that don't want them to be nominated are like old white men in Hollywood.
I didn't see it in a theater.
I think Apple to me has been doing something that I think that other streaming services are not willing to do, when that's kind of take their time. Because I mean, Apple streaming services is not what generates revenue for Apple. It is
that's true.
and other things. So it's like, I think that they've been able to be strategic in things that they want to pick up and produce. And it kind of leaves them in a tough spot, because it leaves it with, you don't have a whole lot, but when you have something, you got to make sure it's good, because Netflix and Hulu, sometimes I feel that they basically are in the market. I mean, that's why they were unprofitable for years and years and years, is because they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars, if not $1 billion a year on content. And hopefully a lot of it works, and they know a lot of it's not. Whereas Apple, I think they've done a good job of not being worried about revenue right now and kind of considering what they want their platform to be about, which is quality.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's like a lot to say about, like, since they don't have to just rely solely on the streaming part of their business, they're able to like really like slowly and smartly like pick and choose what they're going to invest in. Which a lot of these, like, I did a story about Peacock on Joe Blow, and like they lost $1.7 billion last year because they spent so much money like acquiring all these like older shows. Like they spent all this money to reacquire The Office from Netflix. They all these kind of shows that I get. Yeah, so they want people to watch these older shows, but then like they were saying that like Peacock hasn't made, like, even with something that they did like a Saved by the Bell sequel series, and they're doing that Bel Air spinoff that's like a serious version of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, but they haven't had like a show that's like resonated. It hasn't broken into like the pop culture, like
they're stuck in this. Yeah, they want you to just go back and rewatch things.
So like so like when I was reading that thing from their quarterly call, I was like, how do you justify losing $1.7 billion?
How do you just lose $1 billion? Where did it go?
And they are legit at the bottom of like the streaming service, like
Paramount's above them.
Paramount, and you know what? Paramount Plus is sneakily like doing pretty well too. I mean, like, that's actually great. I like all of them except for Peacock. I can't justify anything on it. I have it because of work, but
isn't the new Jonah Hill biopic with Jerry? That's going to be Apple, right?
That's going to be Apple. Yeah.
That's a
they
good
also
pickup.
They have Martin Scorsese. I guess Martin Scorsese's doing that. They also did one with Leonardo DiCaprio that's coming out this year on Apple.
Is that that's the Killer of the Flower Moon?
Yeah. And Leonardo DiCaprio hopes that it gets a significant theatrical release to go along with the streaming, which I think at least in a limited one, because they wanted to qualify for awards. But yeah, like Apple's been, I mean, I think it's cool that people like Martin Scorsese sees it. Like he's like, hey, like this is a good, I mean, Martin Scorsese did The Irishman with Netflix. Like he knows, like
he's moving along with the times.
Yeah, exactly.
But I also think that
time
with
is also moving through him.
I do also think that with like Apple and like even like Amazon, they have this pocket of cash from other investments that they're able to kind of hold on to and have a little leverage, where like Netflix and Hulu are only streaming services. And like Apple is a $1 billion company right. Like without the streaming service. So they're able to be like a little more picky on their content because they have so much cash in the bank. Same with Amazon.
Yeah, it's the same too with like even something like HBO Max, which it has like the Warner Media attachment to it. It has like the studio. So like there's like, they have, I mean, not as much as incentive to like kind of throw money around like Apple does, but like still the same thing where they're not relying just on one avenue to get revenue.
They're diversification in portfolio.
But yeah, well, we shall see where these nominations end up. I really think you're going to see like a lot of the movies we just named, and you're not going to be too surprised. I was trying to think of what snubs there could be, and I can't really think of any at the moment, unless they completely leave out Dune, which I would be surprised, or if they maybe not include West Side Story, but I think they are because Spielberg.
I think West Side Story is going to get snubbed though. Like I guess not stubbed, because I don't really care if they win or not, but I think that I don't think that they're going to win awards. I think they're just going to get nominated and
be a bunch of nominations.
I mean, I think that they can only promise Spielberg a nomination. They can't promise him a win.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, for these kind of movies too, do we typically tend to see the best actor and best supporting actresses come out of these best pictures and these nominations? Or is it going to be like, what's the story on that? Like, what are we kind of looking at in terms of?
Oh, as far as like the actors
those nominations? Because it's like, yes, these movies are good, but is Timothée Chalamet going to get a best director, like best leading actor?
No,
nomination?
so here's the thing. So if they nominate Being the Ricardos, like Nicole Kidman has a very strong shot at getting a Best Actress nomination. Javier Bardem has not been nominated for like everything, but he's been nominated for some stuff for playing Desi Arnaz in it. So he might pop up too. Dune is not going to get any acting nominations. It's just not. Don't Look Up could for maybe Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio. They might. Um, Tick Tick Boom, Andrew Garfield is definitely getting a nomination. If he doesn't, then something's wrong.
That's
I hope he does.
Yeah. And then if they nominate King Richard, Will Smith is probably definitely going to get a nomination as well.
I think Alana from Licorice Pizza might get a nomination.
So she's a toss up too with like, so there's people like her and Rachel Zegler, who's in West Side Story, who has kind of picked up some nominations along the way, but they're not like considered front runners. Now there's someone like Kristen Stewart, who's in Spencer, she'd been getting nominated for everything leading up to these awards, but they left her out of the SAG nominations. She wasn't included. Jennifer Hudson got nominated for Respect. They really think that she took her spot. So it's possibility you might see some surprises.
You notice how we haven't even mentioned House of Gucci.
Yes, well, Lady Gaga is campaigning her ass off still. Like the movie's been out, it's made its money. I'm not saying that I would be mad if she got nominated, if she's good in it.
I'd be mad if Jared Leto gets nominated.
I have a distinct.
I'm boycotting.
I have a distinct bad feeling that he might, because he got a SAG nomination for Best Supporting Actor and a Critics' Choice nomination for Best Supporting Actor. I'm not saying that they will.
For all you listeners out there, I'm rolling my eyes.
Because this happened with him last year with The Little Things. He got nominated for Best Supporting at the SAG Awards and Critics' Choice, but he did not get an Oscar nomination. I just think it would just look bad. Like it's just a caricature performance. It's not even a real.
Yeah.
If anyone from House of Gucci deserves one, it's her. But she's just been campaigning so hard that she might just get it. I mean, that's part of the game. The part of the game is like putting yourself out there, and and she's proud of the movie and proud of her performance. So more power to her. Yeah. I do, since we brought up Rachel Zegler, she's kind of related to this next story about, so they're doing a live action version of Snow White, and they cast Rachel Zegler, who's Latina, she's in West Side Story. They cast her as Snow White. And then Peter Dinklage, who's on Game of Thrones and very accomplished actor in his own right, was very upset by the fact that he felt the studio Disney's trying to be woke in one way by like casting a Latina actress, but then he made a comment about how like with the Seven Dwarves, it's going to be basically, it felt like it was going to be like the same kind of like stereotype. Like his quote was, "Yeah, I was a little taken aback when they were very proud to cast a Latina actress as Snow White. You're still telling the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. Take a step back and look at what you're doing there. It makes no sense to me. You're progressive in one way, and you're still making that fucking backwards story about seven dwarves living in a cave together. What the fuck are you doing, man? Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough."
And he said this on Mark Maron's What the Fuck podcast, which is a comedy podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he said it in like what the fuck? Why is this still going on? Not like he was like, I think he was just freely speaking on it. I don't think he really thought that he was going to start like a whole movement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he does have a point. He has a point where, I mean,
100%.
They're focusing on race, and they do that in one way, but they don't do it with other types of conditions. And so, I mean, I don't know what people's reaction would be if they just cast like non-dwarves. I don't know what.
Well, they had a statement. I have it up. So Disney commented back and said, "To avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film, we are taking a different approach with these 7 characters and have been consulting with members of the dwarfism community. We look forward to sharing more on the film as the film heads into production after a lengthy developmental period." And the only thing the comment that I have about this quote is at the end, it says, "After a lengthy development period." Why has this been going on for so long and no one in the room, no one has said anything like, maybe this isn't the right time, it's 2022 to be still having dwarfs as a thing, as like a caricature, 7 caricatures. And like, how long has this been going on where this is just now becoming an issue? You're the biggest company. Disney is like the biggest conglomerate right now, and you're telling me no one in the room had something to say? That's ridiculous.
I feel like if I was Disney, I wouldn't touch Snow White again with a 10-foot pole. Like, there's too many ways to be canceled from that, and it hasn't even happened yet, and it's already starting. So it's one of those things that, I mean,
a lot of those Disney movies, it's
already been retold. I mean, there was a different pickup with Snow White and the Huntsman, which was awful in its own way. And but
its own brand of awful.
Yeah, it was a different type of terrible. But I just don't understand like why we need to rehash these sort of old timey movies, especially, I mean, even if you did something like because Snow White, I mean, the premise of a prince kissing someone who's asleep to like bring them back to life, like I just think that whole thing is just ridiculous in and of itself. So like with that paired with the dwarves, and now the question of, is Snow White white or is she Latino? Who cares? Like, there's just too many variables for, like, no matter what, someone's gonna be upset.
Yeah, I feel a little bad though for Rachel Zegler, who's probably proud that she got. She's probably proud she got cast in it, and like even
no
if
one's blaming her.
No, I know, but even if what he said was in jest, right, to be like, oh, like they try to prove, like you put her kind of in that conversation by saying like, oh, well, they thought they were doing this by casting her, and then they were not doing this by going this other route with like the dwarves. I mean, I get like no one's blaming her, but it kind of puts her name into the story where she's like, I'm just happy that I got cast as a lead in this movie, and like it shouldn't be but I do kind of agree with Brittany. I think it's funny that no one in the room was like, hey, we should probably change the concept of like the 7 Doors, or not do it at all, or create something original and cast a Latina lead in it, or I don't know, like
Kristen Bell has been very outspoken, and Keira Knightley, about like the reasons that they don't allow Disney movies in their, like certain Disney movies in their home, because they don't want their daughters to view these Disney characters like Cinderella, who was like waiting around for like her prince to come so she can like live a full life. We just got a remake of Cinderella last year. Yes, it was like a woke version, but like it was whatever. But
they didn't have license to any of the songs, so that's just
because it was through Sony. It wasn't through Disney. But I mean, I think that there's a way to remake these movies and make it in a way that they're proud of to show their kids. Because like The Little Mermaid is not something, like, everyone knows now looking back at these stories that like maybe they weren't the best representations of how women should view the world, obviously, but there is a way to remake it that's a well thought out film that would really do well for Disney, but no one is helping them.
No,
because they want to stay true to the original concept, but in doing so, they kind of shoot themselves in the foot by really just like reinforcing a stereotype. So
and if I were working for Disney, I would look at what's in the future calendar of what's going on, like what movies they're planning on remaking, and maybe question like, okay, let's go back and look at that script of whatever, like the Little Mermaid 2024 version. Maybe we should go back and look at that script and see if that one needs some work.
Yeah,
I know. Well, Ariel is going to be played by an African-American actress in The Little Mermaid.
But that's not the problem. The problem is not the diversity of the character. It's the fucking fact that she's like waiting for this prince to kiss her who she doesn't even know, so that she can have legs or whatever. Like,
so she can speak.
So she can have a voice.
Yeah. So, but playing devil's advocate, if and this is why they probably shouldn't just remake them at all, is if you change it too much from like what people love. I mean, you say that about The Little Mermaid, but I still watch The Little Mermaid and still enjoy it, and still think it's a good movie. But I guess it is problematic today, basically, if you want to really look at like, and same thing with like Sleeping Beauty, and like a lot of them are But like if you change them too much, then people are like, well, why? Like, no, it was fine in like 1989. Like, why not just keep it the same if you're gonna like try
But
to touch it?
I think you have to think about the fact that we're grown adults and we can see that there are problems with that film. And if they're going to let kids watch this movie, they're so impressionable. And it might be time to redo this movie in a way that it empowers women. It doesn't make them feel like they need to find a man to have a voice. Maybe they change the script so that little girls aren't watching these films thinking that's what they have to look forward to in the world.
Yeah,
I think they should just create new things. Like when they came out with Tangled, I thought that was a very good, just like original concept.
Even Frozen.
Yeah, stuff like that, and they were insanely popular.
Mhm.
You don't need to remake something that's like the one that I think would be a horrible choice would be something like Pinocchio, because it's like,
oh, they
it's
are
kind
doing
of
that.
It's kind of, well, it's terrifying if you think about it. It's a terrifying story of this guy who wishes his puppet to be real, and then the next day gets kidnapped, imprisoned, and like all this horrible thing.
And your nose grows if you lie, but then it's like maybe you won't lie.
I can't remember who said this, but it was like literally he wishes for a son to be real, and the very next day when he's real, he's like, all right, bitch, go to school.
Sends him on his
He's
way.
like, all right, time to go to school. I'll just leave you alone forever. Like, my gosh, like that's just
this is how I know Disney is desperate to just remake their whole fucking catalog, because they're doing a live action version of the Aristocats. Like no one asked for that.
okay.
Like
Aristocats is one of my favorites.
Okay, except for Owen.
Yeah, I love that one.
I don't know about live action. But I loved the Aristocats.
You are 2 steps away from getting like that Cats like musical that came out 2 years ago that no one liked.
Gosh.
That
Oh my god.
that is what you're getting.
That
All right, I'm gonna wrap up the news part with just 2 dumb movie news stories. Because we talked about the Fast and Furious franchise before. So if you can't get Dwayne Johnson, because he's like, I don't want to work with you anymore, Vin Diesel, I guess the second best get is Jason Momoa, because he just got cast in Fast 10, which I think is, so he's not like Dwayne Johnson, right? But he is still like a name that people like and recognize. So it is a smart move to kind of get someone like him who is continuing to like rise in each thing that he does. But no word on who he's playing. And I just feel like it was like, all right, we can't get Dwayne, so who can we get?
Yeah.
And the get that they got is not really a bad one. It's like a pretty, I think Jason Momoa would fit in very nicely into what the franchise is now.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm happy that he got cast. He's another fucking big, broad-shouldered dude that they could add to the ensemble.
It's like, who is he gonna play? Why should he be someone like, can like Toretto, is he gonna have like a son or a long lost cousin? Or it's gonna be something like that.
He's definitely family, you know that.
He's gonna be family for sure. And then the other dumb movie news, only because I enjoyed this movie a lot, and they're officially making a sequel to Mortal Kombat, and I actually thought the first one that came out last year was
I enjoyed
pretty
it.
good. I enjoyed it a lot, and it fought an uphill battle. It came out the weekend that movie theaters like gradually reopened at limited capacity. It still made a decent amount of money, and apparently it killed it on HBO Max, according to Warner Media. A lot of people were upset in the first one because there wasn't actual like a Mortal Kombat tournament. It was a big buildup to what will be the tournament. So hopefully there will be some actual Mortal Kombating in the sequel.
I thought the action was great. There were some great scenes. It's a Mortal Kombat movie, so it's kind of ridiculous in the sense of the script, and like everything is so far-fetched that you just got to kind of run with it. But I did enjoy it, and so I think that the second one is going to be just as fun, probably.
Yeah. I was like, for people that didn't like it, I was like, what were you expecting it to be? I was like, I don't expect much from my Mortal Kombat, and all I needed was like some cool fight scenes. I don't really need like a good story. There's no good story.
Yeah.
It's like, just let them do what they do. I need like one get over here and an uppercut.
Yeah.
I'm good. I need some of my favorite characters showing up, and they did.
Give me some Johnny Cage, and then let's move on.
So that's what they're going to do in the sequel. That's going to be like and it's just a matter of who they get to play him.
Mhm.
But the guy who played Sub-Zero said that he signed on for like 3 more of these. I don't. He I guess in the video games he comes back as someone else. Sub-Zero does when he dies. I haven't played Mortal Kombat in forever, so I had to look this up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he was like a fan favorite in it, so everyone's kind of happy to have him back. And yeah, I think it's cool that they actually, at a time where it could have came out and flopped, it actually did decent business. It kind of, I think it made HBO Max like a little like they were probably too proud when it came out on HBO Max, and it did really well because they're like, all right, now all our other movies are going to do the same, and that's not.
Yeah, it was was that the first one that dual released?
It was so Wonder Woman 1984 was first,
Okay.
and then Mortal Kombat was the first one after they officially announced that they were going to release their whole 2021 slate that way.
Gotcha.
And that movie was the perfect thing to do that for. I mean, like most people, I think that movie works well at home as well as in theaters.
Agreed.
But yeah, so we have done Back to the Blockbuster Approved before, but we're gonna change it up a little bit. We're gonna do it like kind of like a once a month thing, so it's more like an important part of the episode. And Brittany chose this person, and I was pretty happy with this choice because I don't think we're all going to necessarily agree. But
that's why
Brittany,
that's why I chose him, because
It's a
I
good
think
hot
that
topic.
I think that he could go either way for all of us. So
right.
thought I'd
So
switch that.
for those of you that don't know what it is, like Blockbuster Approved is basically we pick an actor, actress, movie, director, kind of go through some of the stuff that they made, and then by the end of it, we each pick, if we give him our seal of approval or if they get our disapproval. We agreed wholeheartedly on the first one we did. There was some mixed ones for the second. One person stayed on the fence.
Not happening this time.
But yeah, we kind of gone back and forth about this one. But Brittany chose Kevin Hart, which I think it's a really good choice because at first I was like, oh yeah, everyone loves Kevin Hart. But then I kind of realized that as a comedian, actor, he can get accused of doing a lot of the same stuff and repeating a lot of the same jokes and just being himself. For some people, that his shtick is a little annoying for a lot of people. But we shall see. I don't know. Instead of running down his like whole filmography, I will at least ask Owen, like, what have you done what have you liked of his stuff that you can be like, all right, I can point to this as like a good like Kevin Hart movie or performance?
That's the thing. It's like a lot of the stuff that he's in, I liked his like sort of smaller appearances and like sort of his earlier stuff. And like I thought he was good in Jumanji. I do. I think that was a really good sort of change of pace for the character, for his acting style. But it's also at the very whole hard center of it. It's just Kevin Hart being Kevin Hart. And the thing that bothers me from his filmography is that he does get cast into, it's all just him and one other person. So he's in Get Hard with Will Ferrell. He's a coach. And then he's in Ride Along with Ice Cube, or he's in Central Intelligence with Dwayne Johnson. And it's always just kind of like a duo of
It's a buddy,
someone smart,
like a buddy comedy.
Yeah, buddy. It's just like someone smart, someone slapstick. He's usually the one who's slapstick and not really, and like he's either the teacher or the one being taught something. And I'm like, it's just, there's all these movies that are very similar, even in not in sense of the plot, but just the way that they're directed and the way that they're put on, that I think that it's just kind of getting tired for me. And his comedy in general is just, he likes to yell a lot and kind of scream or do some wacky things. So it's like, that to me is not inherently funny. I think he's very quick-witted, which is fun, but I still haven't seen the one that I really do want to see is The Upside. I still haven't seen that because that was 2017, so still a little while ago, but that's a total different,
like dramatic performance.
Yeah, dramatic performance. But guess what? It's a duo. It's him and Bryan Cranston. So it's like there's not a whole lot of sort of I guess ensemble. Jumanji would be more of that, but he's not really ever the lead. He's always like in support with one other character, and I don't know how I feel about that. I find his comedy to be a little exhausting sometimes, but he has some funny lines. I can't deny that.
It seems like you kind of are going in the direction of like he needs like an assist. Like that's a lot of the movies
Yeah.
he's in. He's not really like the lead, like you said. Like
Can
he
he
kind
carry
of
it alone? Doesn't seem like
alone
it.
by himself. He plays off of like I don't want to necessarily say people that are stronger than him, but like it seems like he needs like I hate to say it's gonna be short, like a boost a little bit.
He
Like
needs a
he needs
boost.
like he needs a boost.
He takes like the easy route for a lot of
Right.
a lot
And
of his
like
choices.
and I agree with that too, because I think that easy route has made him money, and like those movies that made money. I kind of think over time you kind of see people be like, all right, he's doing the same thing over and over again. And like something like Jumanji and then like the sequel, like I thought he was good in that too, but there are a lot of moving parts as to why those movies were successful. They weren't just successful because of him.
Mhm.
And I don't even think, even though I like him in it, I don't even think he's the funniest person.
He's
in
not. No,
Jumanji,
Jack
you know
Black
what I mean?
blows him out of the water.
Yeah. But
Oh,
yeah,
and
what about you?
what's your so you're not approved?
I am not going to approve Kevin Hart. I think that like he hasn't had enough diversification in his filmography. I haven't seen, and this is just personal for me, I haven't seen the dramatic roles he's in because I'm not drawn to them. And even his comedic ones, I find myself rolling my eyes. So it's like, regardless of what he decides to do, um, I just feel like I'm not satisfied with it, with anything that he's done. I mean, I think that he has good moments, but there's not a start to finish good Kevin Hart movie that I'm consistently looking to put on.
All right. All right. What about you, Brittany? Like, looking at like kind of what you've seen him in, and like what do you think of him first of all as a comedian slash actor? And,
Yeah,
like,
so I want to separate him as a comedian to his filmography because I do think that I approve him as a comedian. And I like his stand-up and I laugh at his stand-up. But I don't love his acting. I agree, similar to what you're saying, Owen. But I did see the upside and I really liked his performance there. And I think he was pushed really hard in that movie to have this serious moment. And I want to see more of that. So it's like I know it's in there somewhere, but he does take a lot of safe bets when it comes to movies, like being in a movie versus The Rock. It's like he knows it's gonna do well. It's gonna do well, it's gonna make him money. And sometimes I think he chooses roles based on how much money it's going to make. And like,
Mhm.
I think he is in it for the money for the majority of the time. And you can kind of get that sense, but he does play a lot of the same characters, but so do a lot of comedian
True.
actors.
True.
So I think that's just a trope that we have to get you, like Ryan
Mhm.
Reynolds plays the exact
Yep.
same character in everything.
Yep.
And people love him.
Mhm.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I also think I would love to see Kevin Hart host the Oscars because it was taken away from him, or the Golden Globes or
Yeah.
whatever
Oscars.
award show was taken away. I would love to see him get another opportunity because I think he would go to a place like Ricky Gervais where he would really push it with actors. And I think he would do a phenomenal job. And I hate that he was canceled
For a
and
second.
he apologized and at the whole, they did him dirty for sure. And
Mhm.
he should get a redemption.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that he seems so charismatic in real life. Like when he's been on like just interviews that I've seen with him, he seems to be a lot more laid back in real life. But then once he takes on these roles, he just kind of ups his energy level to 1,000. And
Yeah.
I wish that one of the things I actually forgot to bring up was I really want to see Fatherhood,
That's good. I was
which
gonna
came
bring
out
that up.
last year, and that's super dramatic. Like I think the whole story in general is something that would push his boundaries. So that's something that by the next time we do this, I hope to have watched it so that I can maybe give a little 2 more cents to my review, because that seems
Yeah.
like a role that would definitely set him apart from some of the other stuff he's done.
And I
Yeah.
think that with what we're saying with anyone that we approve or not approve, I think there is always a chance to change our minds. We can
Yeah.
change we can change the way that we like. If I watch Fatherhood and decide, okay, I really like Kevin Hart as an actor, I don't think I'll ever change my mind about Jared Leto. But in this case, I'm willing to change my mind on a lot of actors if I get the opportunity to see more of their work.
100%
I agree. I agree because like the one that you weren't on, Brittany, we did Vin Diesel, and I think when we said that we didn't approve of him, we gave a lot of reasons toward the end about how
the pacifier.
How he could like kind of like he could also be one of those guys if the right director directs him, he could maybe put out a good performance, like something that would make you go, oh, okay, like he does have talent. Because like when you look at some of his early work, you kind of see it before he went like full on action star.
Like he was good in Saving Private Ryan.
He's like, good in Boiler Room. Like he like there is potential for them to change. And like I know you might not change your mind about Jared Leto, but I remember when we talked about him, I was like, yeah, his early stuff I love. And
if anything, my hole gets deeper.
Yeah, your hole gets deeper as it goes along. With Kevin, so where are you at? You're like as an actor,
as an actor, I'm gonna say not yet. Okay. Not yet approved. But as a comedian, he is approved for me.
Okay. I'm in the same boat as you. I guess both of you. But agreeing with the point about him being a better comedian. I like his stand-up a lot. And that energy translates well on stage because you have to be that energetic to play to the crowd. Yeah. The thing is he does that same energy in a film, and it's like, no, that's a little too, it's too much. And like it can go over the top. Like what I have noticed just looking at like some of his movies, I just pulled up a list. The stuff I like him in the most is when he's not really the lead. Like he was in a remake of About Last Night that I thought was good. I don't mind Think Like a Man. I thought that was good too. Like, but he's not the lead in these movies. Like it reminds me, and this is like kind of similar. I feel the same way about like Russell Brand, who I like in small doses. Too much of him is not funny to me. And I think that Kevin Hart has that problem.
Like when he was great in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, too much in Get Him to the Greek.
It's Greek, yeah. So there's like two, yeah. It's like he's in a right amount of movie in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and Kevin Hart's kind of like that too. Like, and it sucks because I think he is funny, but I just think that he needs someone to dial him back. And I mean, I guess the reason that he doesn't get dialed back is because his movies make money, and he also is paired with the right people. Like, you know, I was like trying to look at this list and see if he had done anything as like a lead that like made like a lot of money, and most of it is just like it's either an ensemble or him and someone else.
And I think, just to your point as well, it's like when you have someone like Dwayne Johnson who can kind of dial him back a little bit, when you pair him with someone like Will Ferrell who basically exceeds that craziness, you get Hard, which was, everyone hated that movie. And when you kind of see those two,
funny.
Well, when you see those two pairings, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a bunch of yelling, and like it's just going to be a loud movie.
Yeah. I will say this though, I did see Fatherhood, and he was good in it. The story itself is also very good. It's like kind of sad but then uplifting at the same time. And then I haven't watched this yet, but he got good reviews for it, and so did Wesley Snipes. He's on a show on Netflix called True Story, and it's a limited drama series where he plays a comedian that goes back to his hometown and like kind of like interacts with his brother who has like a shady past or whatever. He got good reviews for it. I haven't watched it yet, but you can tell that he's trying to move away, and I mean not necessarily like move away completely, but he wants to show that he can do other things.
Unfortunately though, I think he's just done so many buddy comedies that it's like it's hard to like forgive him for that, you know.
Yeah,
it's like,
and like
he's so typecasted as that role, and now it's like, oh, you're trying to do something else, and now we're having a hard time adjusting to it.
Yeah, like his next movie this year is The Man from Toronto. It's an action buddy comedy with him and Woody Harrelson. And after that, okay, he's gonna be
Woody Harrelson though.
I do too.
Okay, and after
big
that,
crush on him.
I actually like Woody Harrelson a lot. But his movie after that is going to be Borderlands. It's a science fiction action comedy I think it's based on a video game. So it's him,
Oh,
Kate
Borderland, yeah.
Yeah, it's him, Kate Blanchett, Jack Black, and Jamie Lee Curtis, which is cool. It's a cool ensemble, but it's
Kate Blanchett and Jack
yeah, I know.
Black.
And it's
Okay.
directed. Yeah,
Okay. I'm not just hearing that, right?
No. But
Okay.
again, it's another action on like sci-fi action comedy ensemble. Like he's still not like riding on his own,
Mhm.
at least in movies. So I'm with Brittany. I think he's a good comedian. I think he's funny. I just kind of turn my nose up at some of the movies that he's in, and I'm not gonna give him approval, even though it kind of
Oof,
sucks.
3 X's.
But I with the caveat that Brittany says that like he's a good comedian, and then there's potential for like more growth.
Yeah.
But who are we to say? Like if we were getting paid all that money to just do one shtick, would we do it? I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
Never been put in that position. When
it's
someone
just
writes you a check for $25 million, you're like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I just
hang out with
yeah.
Dwayne.
Yeah.
I just wish that his shtick wasn't like the loud. Oh, what am I going to say? I'm going to watch what I say. Just being loud and obnoxious. I wish that wasn't his shtick because it gets old.
I know what you mean. And I feel the same way towards like Jewish actors. Like sometimes it's like, it's like a bit much.
Yeah, like stop perpetuating stereotypes. Calm down. Yeah.
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
But I think like if we saw Kevin Hart, like if a preview or a trailer came out with a Kevin Hart movie and it looked decent enough, like we would all go see it. So it's not like we're not like completely like throwing him out.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah,
exactly.
God, this is like I thought one of you might pick him.
Pick him
as an approved, yeah.
yeah.
I kind of knew.
I think this was a great discussion though about like we can be critical of someone and also still like them,
Yeah, good choice, Brittany.
Yeah, it was a really good choice. But yeah, that brings this.
Oh, and you can choose the next one.
Yeah, we'll give it to
I've
you.
gotten third choice on a lot of these things. I get it's time for me to pull out the big guns.
Yeah,
I know,
looking
right?
forward to who you choose.
I know.
It gives you time. It gives you time to think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, this brings this one to a close. We have an exciting like duo of episodes coming up that we're all very excited about because we've been talking about them for weeks, and just there's going to be some special guests, not celebrities, guys, just like our friends. Just our friends. Don't get too excited, just our friends.
Yeah, don't get too excited.
But yeah, I'm really excited for the next 2 episodes. I think they're gonna be a lot of fun. And I also want to point to the fact that on the Good Pods HQ app that I showed you guys before, even though we're not at #1 anymore, I know that upsets Owen. We were there for a week and a half. But since being at #1, we have not fallen out of the top 10. We have stayed in the top 10 the entire time, and that was since the end of December. So we're in the top, and and I also sent out the stats for the number of downloads we've gotten since we started, and I was impressed. I didn't know what the numbers are going to be because I've only seen hints of them, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I just thank everyone for listening and downloading and subscribing, and also giving feedback that Playlist Studio, who does this podcast, clearly sees, because that's the first thing they point out is that you guys all have good chemistry, and the guests and that you have really good guests on, and the topics are always good. So yeah, we appreciate you guys for listening and
thanks for listening to us rabble on
thank
for
you
guys Thursday, but for us Monday. We like to start the week off right, and just want to say thanks to everyone out there that's willing to give us a listen, because we enjoy talking. So
yeah, it just makes us hungry, it makes us more hungry.
Yeah,
how do we do it? How do we do it better?
And more critical of ourselves and of other actors as well.
I know a little bit, right? Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, I just want to thank everyone for that, because that definitely doesn't go unnoticed, and we wouldn't be able to still be doing it if they were like, hey, nobody's listening to your podcast, so we're going to cancel it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
we're the only ones listening to ourselves.
Yeah.
So thank you all again. We really appreciate it. And as usual, Owen is going to sign us out of here.
Yeah, Gaze pretty much took the words out of my mouth. Just want to say thanks to everyone out there that is listening on any platform. Actually, I think that Apple Podcasts is the one that most people are tuning into right now.
Well,
If you do want to listen to it on Spotify or any of the other times, we are a playlist original. Big news coming soon for that, for their own app. So that's going to be very exciting. And we're going to be at the top of that, hopefully, and make sure you guys just keep tuning in. We got a lot of awesome, great episodes planned for some theme things with Valentine's Day and Super Bowl, and just like some different themes that are going on, and obviously Brittany's choice for movie of the month. So we got a lot of good stuff in the pipeline for you guys, and can't wait to talk about it. And as always too, if you want to see our faces and us laughing, then we can you can check us out on YouTube. So thanks for watching, and thanks for listening, and as always, guys, we appreciate it. No one else I'd rather be here with on a Monday night.
yeah.
Thanks,
I agree.
guys.
Thank you. Peace.